and for a total of $133, figure if we sell these at $200 per pair, we can make a nice profit.
Okay. So some of the problems originally we did parallel research between using bend sensors and accelerometers, and we decided to go with the bend sensors. The accelerometers, they were very complex mathematically. They needed algorithms to be done and compounded several times, which caused error, which would cause drift in the virtual reality. And so that became very complicated mathematically. And that kind of correction would have needed to use Kalman filters, which in themselves are very difficult to use. There's whole textbooks just on Kalman filters. And also the accelerometers we were going to use contain magnetometers, and the base of our Razor Hydra has inductive coils that creates a magnetic field. And what that would have done is it would have messed with the magnetometers on the accelerometers itself and just given us off-the-wall data that wouldn't have done any good.
So we also wanted to use HID drivers for our glove. That's the same way that the Razor Hydra and the Oculus Rift communicate in Unity, but that was extremely complicated. I spent 4 days with 3 hours of sleep a day trying to figure that out. And you hire a consultant to do work like that, and they can have it done in a week. So instead, we opted to use the Uniduino software. Also, on Windows 8, we had trouble with Uniduino. We got the blue screen of death pretty frequently. We think it was because we know it was because the drivers in Windows, the USB drivers are, you basically have a buffer, and we were getting null pointers in that buffer because we ran out of information, and that would crash the computer basically. The blue screen of death in Windows 8 is little friendly faces. Pretty funny.
So another road we kind of went down and ended up not going with was signal conditioning. And initially, when we hooked it up to the voltage divider, which is the easiest way to get a usable signal from the bend sensor, we wanted to use some op-amp signal conditioning to really cover the full range of the ADC, so we could get as much resolution as we could. So the problems were, I knew about op-amps theoretically. I'd learned about it in class, but I'd never really worked with them practically. And when it turns out there's a lot of parameters, and there's kind of a learning curve when you're actually using real devices. And so it took me a little while to figure that out. And initially I ordered parts that ended up not working because their specifications didn't really match what we needed. And eventually I did get the right device, and then when I got it, it didn't work. But I mean, that ultimately, after some discussion, we realized we had enough resolution on our ADC already with just the raw voltage coming out of the voltage divider that we could solve a lot of these problems in software, and we didn't necessarily need to cover the full range of the ADC. So we ultimately abandoned it. And it also, not having those extra chips really kind of matched our original philosophy, which was to keep the hardware as simple as possible and really put all the number crunching and complexity into our software.
Okay. So future enhancements. Like I said, we use the Razor Hydra for absolute positioning. Future enhancements would be to actually create our own circuit to do that. We have a lot of, our circuit board and our wires and everything is exposed on the glove. We'd like to create something that is where everything's concealed. You can't really mess with it. It can't be pulled accidentally. Also, a consolidated system. Currently, we have the Oculus Rift, the Razor Hydra, and the glove itself. And these are all separate components that are creating our project. And what would be really cool, and they each have their own USB, and what would be cool is having one system that works together through one USB. are bend sensors. We use bend sensors that were available, that are pretty cheap. But we could probably do more research and get better ones that are more specific. And also, moving on to wireless.
In conclusion, we created a glove, virtual reality glove, and it performed pretty well. We measured that our latency was about 3 frames, which is roughly 50 milliseconds, which is, it's well below the threshold of what a human, what an acceptable delay is. We concluded that signal conditioning circuits weren't necessary. We did all of our analog to digital conversions in software and just used those values directly. It integrated seamlessly with the Oculus Rift and the Razer Hydra in Unity, which was a major victory. And the bend sensors that we used were cost effective.
Okay. We just wanted to acknowledge a couple people. First is Dr. Yuan, who helped us a lot, gave us the idea of linearization. Her specialty is sensors, and that's a big part of our project.
We'd also like to thank our industry advisor, Vlad Beaver, who's a great help with both community as well as leisure.
We'd like to thank Dr. Mopes for being our professor for almost all 4 years of our undergraduate pursuits.
I'd like to thank Dr. McIntyre. He helped me with some op-amp problems when I was just pounding my head against the wall one day. And we'd also like to thank our TA, Cy, who donated a lot of extra time to us and allowed us to come into the lab for like 6 hours a day on weekends for like over a month. And that was a real big help. And everyone else.
We'd like to thank all you guys for being here. Congratulations on your graduation and good luck in your future pursuits. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, we are really pressing on time, so if you have questions, ask them during demo time.
We'll have our demo out in the hallway.
Yes.
If you want to try it
Do you-
out.